Previously on the Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve.
The defense claims these four names indicate some sort of international assassin exchange. I'm sure I speak for all present when I say, what a cockamamie tripe load of crap pop. Well, Mr. Jioku, what do you have to say for yourself?
I'm sorry.
Very well then, as a parting gift to you all, I'll tell you everything I know.
And now back to 3:28 a.m.
Welcome back to Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve, everybody. We got some important witness testimony to behold, and I'm not going to say any more, we're just going to do it. It's true that Kazuma Asogi was assigned the assassination mission 1 year ago now. The target was Inspector T. Gregson. That was a condition of the British study tour. However, in the end, something happened that meant the young man was unable to carry out his mission. Uh-oh. On the evening in question, a member of the crew was on duty outside my cabin at all times. If there'd been a shot fired, the crewman would have heard it, so clearly I can't be involved. Huh. Are we talking about the same room that we were just looking at? So you admit it then. As this communication suggests, there really was an assassin exchange arrangement. I keep wanting to say assassination exchange, but yeah, no, not really. I mean, it's kind of the same. It's a political endeavor at the highest levels, not something I can discuss here. Well, we're gonna have to find out who to discuss it with. Who is, like, the leader of the planet? Let's just get that person in here, and we can talk to them about it. To use such a worthy practice as a foreign study to coerce somebody to commit murder. It's the most appalling thing I've ever heard. Ha ha ha. Appalling? Well, it's easy to judge. Yes, it must be, must it? Pardon? Asogi had a reason for taking his sword to that British inspector, you know. Which is why he accepted the mission in the first place. Isn't that right, Counsel? Like, if it turned out that he had benevolent reasons for doing this, I really don't see why he would be so... caustic? Is that the word I'm looking for here? I'm not sure. Judge Jigoku, if you are the mastermind behind this operation in Japan, you better just admit it now, and save us all the trouble, because I'm gonna get you anyway. Then tell the court the identity of your counterpart in Britain. He might be standing right next to me, you never know. I'm not obliged to divulge that information. As I said yesterday, I've killed nobody. I freely admit that I accepted the mission, but on the night the plan was to be executed, I backed out. I might have also blacked out at some point. No, it wouldn't be the first time. In short, this assassination there I go again. This assassin exchange the defense has identified as unrelated to the events of this case. Like, is it possible we're wrong about the list? This would be the first time in history that Holmes was wrong about something, because it was him, kind of, that brought us to that deduction, wasn't it? The crucial point is this. Your police inspector can't have perished aboard that steamship in Dunkirk. Because if he'd been shot in the cabin, it's inconceivable that a member of the crew wouldn't have heard it. Well, that's true. Yeah. Gregson was killed after returning to London in the room on Fresno Street. How many times must we go over this, man? And the perpetrator of the crime was the Reaper, Barack Van Zieks. It feels like Van Zieks is barely even a part of this now. Because we know that he didn't do it. Like, basically we know that. At least, I hope. That's the thing, though. It's like, you're never too sure. It's not like we haven't had cases where our client was guilty before. Even though that's been a while. The prosecution's accusation remains unchanged. And the defense's assertion remains unchanged, too, so what do you got to say to that? To think that a seemingly innocent foreign exchange program was a facade for such Machiavellian dealings, wow. Clearly it's a plot only a government minister and high-ranking judge such as the witness could hope to execute. Wow. So now you're saying he is a part of it. I mean, I guess he's not. Well, I seem to recall that it was someone on the British side who controlled everything. Look at the way he's looking at him, too. He's kind of like... Be that as it may, it's not the place of this court to pursue this villainous assassin exchange plot. We are concerned only with the tangible events pertaining to the murder of Inspector Gregson, which will eventually lead to the other thing, I'm sure, but let's just hope that doesn't happen. Is the defense clear on that point, Counsel? Fine, then. Yes, my lord. I'll keep that in mind as I cross-examine the witness. No, I actually won't. I'll forget it like halfway into the first statement, I'm sure. Oh, man. There are so many people in this room right now that need to just be in jail. You know, it's true that Kazuma Sogi was assigned the assassination mission 1 year ago now. Alright, let's get all the information we can here. A year ago when Kazuma was still in Japan then. Correct. It was at the examination center for applicants for the study tour that I approached him. I'll never forget it. I remember exactly what you said. You just came out and asked me forthright if I'd consider traveling to Britain on an assassination mission. Wow. Surely not. I thought it was a joke at first, of course. But then, it was made clear to me that if I didn't accept, I wouldn't be considered for the study tour. So you agreed to it just for that? I mean, I know how much you wanted to study in England, but... assassination? Yeah, nothing would be worth that. Nothing in the world would be worth that. Then again, I'm not everybody, so... The Empire of Japan had accepted a proposal from the British Empire at the time, an agreement to send a student from each country to the others to deepen cultural understanding and friendship. But behind the scenes, the chosen students were to be given assassination missions. Gross. I had no choice but to accept the proposal that originated from my British counterpart. I thought I heard like a ding sound there just now. Why didn't you expose the plot there and then? Well, because, like, they were both in on it, so you would be exposing them too, and you'd get in trouble, probably. Britain acknowledges no part in these alleged misbegotten dealings. I advise you not to make spurious allegations, Foreign Minister Jigoku. You better not rat us out. As a witness, I am bound to tell the truth, my lord. Yeah, there you go. Anyway, I picked a Sogi and explained the details of the plan to him. Nah, it's Pazuzu. Target was Gregson, that was a condition of the British study tour. Why, Kazuma? Why did you pick him as the assassin? He was the most capable of all the applicants, and in addition, he had some strong arms, let me tell you. He took me once in an arm wrestling match. I knew his desire to travel to Britain was very strong. In fact, it was almost more than a desire. It was his whole purpose in life. Yeah, as his best friend, I can certainly attest to that. The way he threw himself into his studies, the way he pursued becoming qualified as a lawyer. It was all ultimately for that one single goal of being accepted on a study tour to Britain. And of course we know the reason behind that. He was determined to find out for himself the truth about his father, Genshin Asogi. Yeah, there was that, jeez. I just put my hand over my head like, oh no. It's not gonna come up here. There's nothing I wouldn't have done to get here. Be that agreeing to assume the role of an assassin, or betraying people's trust. I am so, like, man, when they say Kazuma's changed, boy, they weren't kidding. Well, you certainly did a fine job of betraying mine, Asogi. I wasn't talking about you. I was lamenting that I have to betray my friend over there. But why was Inspector Gregson the target? I have no idea. Those were the orders from Britain. I was in no position to question them. You have no idea? Really? I find that hard to believe. Man, these guys are going at it. Jeez, man. Shochigoku was once a visiting student here in Britain himself, of course. Perhaps he has some connection with Inspector Gregson from that time. The defense really ought to catch up. With what? With my tomatoes. With the fact that the assassin exchange has absolutely nothing to do with the cases under scrutiny here. Yes, I've already admitted to recruiting Asogi. I had to make sure I was still recording. Wow. In the end, something happened that meant the young man was unable to carry out his mission. So here's where I went uh-oh earlier, and I think this is the statement we're going to need to really dive into here. I presume you're referring to the incident that occurred during Kazuma's passage to Britain in January. The awful tragedy that took place on the steamship. Word arrived at the ministry some 2 weeks after the ship's departure from our shores. The visiting student had been killed, but his body had somehow gone missing in Hong Kong. That's right. The news was wired to me from a detective I'd placed on the ship to accompany the assassin. Obviously, Cosmo didn't actually die at all, but he did lose his memory, including all details about his special mission. Huh. So maybe when he got those memories back and remembered what he was really doing here, that must not have been easy. I mean, shoot. Did you not consider dispatching another assassin at that point? Well, how would they get him aboard the ship? I don't know. That wasn't possible, simply because that black-clad young student over there had already put himself forward as Asogi's replacement. My hands were completely tied. So Mr. Holmes' strategy worked perfectly. He predicted everything that would happen. Sorry, I got some stuff stuck in my teeth, man. It's months later, my memory returned. But I never intended to go through with the assassination mission anyway. So you were playing me right from the outset, were you? Is that it? I'd sooner be guilty of that crime than taking someone else's life. I was prepared to do whatever I had to in order to get myself here to Britain. Huh. So he almost got lucky in that sense, I don't know, because because then you wouldn't have the stuff weighing on your conscience about, well, I was supposed to be doing something else, even if it was something bad. I don't know. This line of questioning has gone on long enough. All the court should be concerned about in the testimony given by this witness are details relating to his relationship with Inspector Gregson. And he really does not want us to get on that tangent, does he? Oof. As I've already made perfectly clear, I had no connection to the man or his death. And you have some means of substantiating this plea? You better! On the evening in question, a member of the crew was on duty outside my cabin at all times. Outside your cabin in the first-class area of the SS Grouse, you mean? Yes, that's right. Not least because there was a murder of a student passenger earlier in the year, I imagine. In the same room, no less. Probably. The liner operators have taken to posting a crewman outside every first-class cabin door. So happy. I can confirm the presence of the crewman guard myself. What do you mean? Because I accompanied Inspector Gregson to Dunkirk that night. I witnessed it with my own eyes. Yeah, he would have been there to see that, yep. There was a well-built crewman standing guard directly in front of the door to the witness's cabin. But what was all that stuff about him hiding that he was in there? Oh. So we know that this guy paid off that crewman to tell us that he wasn't there. Because if we'd found out he was still there, what would that mean, though? At that particular time, of course, I'd gone to the ship's dining room for dinner. The inspector and I asked the crewman to allow us into the cabin while we waited for Judge Jigoku's return. Huh, so maybe he paid him off twice. I suppose Inspector Gregson was there in his capacity as the Reaper. He was intending to take the witness's life. Exactly. As I've said numerous times now, I had no intention of killing anyone. So the crewman let two potential assassins into the cabin he was supposed to be guarding. Huh, not the most convincing of centuries, really. What are you laughing at? In truth, those were my thoughts too. Huh, but anyway. Oh, that was kind of a nice moment there just now. He just stopped for a minute to agree with me. I miss moments like that, I really do, old friend. But anyway, I stayed to talk with Inspector Gregson for a short while. And then I left him there, and made my way off the ship alone. Was the guard still at the door when you went? Yes, he glared at me as I walked past. You see? That proves it. Okay. If there'd been a shot fired, the crewman would have heard it, so clearly I can't be involved. The crewman who was standing directly outside your cabin door, you mean? That's right. What if the crewman did it? I don't think so. A muscular man with a permanent grim expression on his face, he didn't once move from that spot. To be honest, I thought he was a miserable fellow. But as it happens, he's a vital witness now. Maybe we should bring his ass in here. Actually, don't, because I can't do that accent for shit. There's no doubt that Gregson was killed by a gunshot. And it's inconceivable that a crewman standing just outside the cabin door wouldn't have heard that. But wait, what about the ship's enormous steam engines? The noise of them could have drowned out the sound of the gun being fired. Sadly, young judicial assistant, that's really good, but not this time. That won't wash. Man, we both, flinched at that. You will recall that my cabin was in the first-class area of the ship, which is also, of course, the quietest. Of course it is. That's what you get for all that spondooly, man, let me tell you. Don't imagine for a moment that it's anything like steerage, or the judicial assistant. Are you okay, sir? I didn't mean... Wait a minute. But a hole like that made by a bullet was found in your cabin, Judge Jigoku. Yes, it was. That's compelling evidence that a gun was fired in there. Well, it looked like the bullet came into the cabin from the outside, judging by, the wood splintering out from the hole. But, wait a minute, you don't know about this? Oh yes, you're talking about what the detective uncovered in the wall yesterday, I presume. That was obviously a rotten panel eaten out by woodworm. No doubt he didn't find an actual bullet. Is the bullet still in you? Sadly, I was unable to arrange for the crewmen to be brought back to Britain with me. But obviously, if a gun had been fired in my cabin on the night in question, as the defense implies, I would have been arrested on the spot, and would never have made it to Britain in the first place. Very true, the witness's logic is sound, thank God. Since no gunshot was heard from the witness's cabin on the night in question, we must assume that the witness is telling the truth. But you weren't there. I'm glad you've seen sense, my lord. These two, I'm telling you. And they kind of look like each other, too, a little bit. I never really realized that. I knew Kazuma's already admitted to taking on this incredible assassination plot, but even so, hearing it confirmed by somebody else is still a real shock. It's unforgivable is what it is, using Kazuma's feelings to manipulate him into agreeing to such a despicable plan. But I think Kazuma manipulated Judge Jigoku, too. He completely double-crossed him. Oh dear. It's hard not to see that as a stroke of brilliance on Kazuma's part. One way or another, Gregson ended up dead. I really think that the murder must have happened aboard that steamship. Yeah, I mean, mainly because of the thing they said about the refrigeration. And we know the body was refrigerated, so... I know I shouldn't let my emotions cloud my judgment. But you must destroy him, Mr. Naruhodo. Jeez. Wow. Man, we're getting some Damon Gant levels of intimidation here. So it's true that Kazuma Sogi was assigned the assassination. I really feel like this is the statement I need to be looking at here. But let me just look at what I got in here. Something happened that meant the young man was unable to carry out his mission. Yeah, I feel like the watch might still be relevant, but I don't think it's here. The watch pretty much proves that he was killed, but wait, well, the body proves that he was killed. What am I even talking about? Trunk, Clint's autopsy report, I mean... the passport. Is there anything else in here that we, forgot about? Notice about a practice evacuation to be carried out by the crew. Oh, wait a second. Oh, shoot. Wait a minute. Where was the... On the evening in question, a member of the crew was on duty. Oh, here we go. We got this. Right here, baby. Yes, as the court has heard, there was a crewman posted outside Judge Jigoku's cabin, but guess what? Can we be sure? We can be sure the contrary to the witness's claim. The guard wasn't there at all times. What? What? I have here a notice of a particular event that was scheduled. Man, I'm glad I looked, because I forgot I even had that in there. A notice of a particular event that was scheduled to take place aboard the steamship on the 31st. Where did you get that? It's evidence gathered by Mr. Sherlock Holmes. It was in your room, dumbass. You were acquainted yesterday, if you remember. Sherlock Holmes again. Damn, I hate that dude. According to this itinerary, after leaving the port of Dunkirk at exactly 10 p.m., and for a period of 20 minutes, all crewmen of the SS Grouse were to gather on deck for an evacuation drill. All crewmen were away from their posts? Somebody's playing theater rhythm. During that 20-minute interval, of course. Any gunshots emanating from your cabin would have been heard by no one. Nobody whatsoever. I wish I could see that hole again, because... well, whatever. Maybe I'll just stop thinking about that. In summary, Judge Jigoku, you had ample opportunity to commit the crime.
Objection!
Objection, you knew it. A 20-minute window of opportunity. That's an excellent find, Ryunosuke. But it amounts to nothing. Why? Because I said so. Because the witness clearly stated in his testimony that no incident occurred in his cabin. Well, then why would he need to even say the thing about the crewman being posted, then? Huh. Unless you have some decisive evidence that can show his testimony to be false. Your accusation is nothing more than conjecture. Very true. Well, counsel, I don't know. Inspector Gregson was killed in Judge Jigoku's cabin that night. I'm certain of it. Because the defense has the evidence to prove it. Damn. You will present the evidence for the defense at once, counsel. I can't believe you have this. There's no way you actually have this. What proof do you have that the victim's life was taken in Jigoku's cabin on the 31st? You didn't call him Judge Jigoku. I mean, I guess you don't have to because, like, you're another judge. The judges don't have to address each other as judge. The victim's life was taken in the cabin. What do we have in here that has to do with the cabin? What is this? I'm wondering what this is. I'm still wondering if we're going to find out about that bracelet-looking thing we found at the end of Case 2. Is that going to have anything to do with any of this? Hang on a second. Can I examine this? We haven't really looked to see what this is. See these little things all over? This isn't like the watch thing, right? Because that was like the little policeman doll that did that. It's the part on the top of the... Oh no! It is! Oh, that's our evidence right there then. Sorry I'm not like reading, I'm just wow. Yes, Mr. Naruhodo? I wish I'd examined this sooner, jeez. I have a feeling I might have seen a monarch around here somewhere with a very bare head. If by monarch you mean pocket watch, then I'm quite sure you have. Yeah, that's it. That's what we need. I thought that was going to come up like way later. I didn't realize that was part of the pocket watch, man. Judge Jigoku, this was found in your cabin yesterday. What is that? The crown of a pocket watch? What does that have to do with anything? A pocket watch. I'm gonna have to start making him sound more evil here in a second, the way things are going. And if you will observe, the victim's pocket watch, which we know he treasured. Sure enough, yeah. Man, could I have, like, examined that sooner and seen that? I probably could have. Moreover, this crown is a perfect fit on the spindle protruding from the victim's watch. Well, there must be a million watches of that brand out there. Now the fact that this was retrieved from Judge Jigoku's cabin tells us that the victim's watch almost certainly broke there. This is like another one of those things. I almost feel like the evidence is too damning for it to just be, yeah, he did it. But it might be. But it could also be, yes, he did do it, and we just don't know why yet. Like, he might have ended up being protecting somebody from something. Well, you're razor sharp, aren't you, you young murderer? I love that he keeps calling me that because he was the judge in my trial for that. Expertly maneuvered, Ryunosuke. Thanks for all the compliments today, man. I appreciate it. And your argument sounds entirely plausible. At first. But check this out. Much rather like this pocket watch. It's full of cracks. That was a very Edgeworthian sentence. And I believe Judge Jigoku feels the same way. Yes, I do. I was wrong to acquit you earlier in the year. Sorry? If I'd known that it would result in anyone having to listen to this drivel, I would have declared you guilty just to spare the world your ridiculous bombast. Damn. I like this pose of his. Oh, man. I think it's clear that the witness will have to give further testimony. When you hear what actually happened in my cabin that night, it's gonna blow your freaking mind, man. You'll notice the pitfall into which you stumbled. What, because you have a watch just like that too or something? Prior to a renewed testimony, I would like to clarify one point. The fact that this part of the victim's watch was discovered in your cabin doesn't mean jack squat. Means that you acknowledge he was there, I presume. Okay, that's true. Like, yeah. Very well then. You may proceed to give your formal testimony. Freaking yawns, man. Oh. Of course, as a man of the law, I have no intention of obstructing justice. He's just getting happier as the case goes on. Before you know it, he's going to be laughing like Frank saw it in Investigations 2. Never forget that voice. I had a guest waiting for me when I returned to my cabin after finishing my evening meal in the dining room, which tasted very good, by the way. When I walked through the door, a mustachioed Englishman was there foolishly waving a gun at me, which was stupid, by the way. Wait a minute, really? I soon took care of him with an Ippon Sai throw. Oh, nice, one of those. I love that throw, man. I do not want this to go this way. He couldn't wait to run away after that. I imagined his watch was broken when I threw him over my shoulder. It has nothing to do with his murder. The inspector was clearly killed having returned to Britain because his body was found in London. Okay. Alright. Ippon Sai. I'm definitely not pronouncing that right. A common jujutsu martial arts technique in my country. Just look at my body. Do you have any doubt that I could do it? I could do it to you, Strongheart, let me tell you. I was careful not to use too much force, but the man obviously landed too heavily for his watch to take. So, Ryunosuke Naruhodo, I imagine you can see the flaw in your logic now, can't you? What? What? The fact that the pocket watch... Sorry in advance about this, Padrai? Was that your name? The fact that the pocket watch was broken in the witness's cabin in no way proves that the victim's murder took place there. Well, he got murdered in some other way, I'll tell you that. Like, I mean him throwing him over. I don't mean literally murdered. I've no doubt the inspector intended to kill me, but he didn't manage to pull the trigger. Yes, because he was merely the tactician, not the Reaper's hand of death. Well, the testimony appears to make perfect sense as far as I can tell. Thank you. Let me express my deep gratitude for your understanding, my lord. That is not fitting at all. But if this testimony holds, Judge Jigoku will be deemed to have no involvement in the case. Well, counsel, I really see no reason for wasting precious court time here on a cross-examination. It's already been an hour, 22 minutes, and 33 seconds. What an amazing number. Sorry, my lord, but it's going to be an hour, 23 minutes, and 92 seconds after this. You're an embarrassment to your countrymen, you know that. Not knowing when you're beaten. More like you don't know when you're beaten. In that case, proceed, Mr. Naruhodo. Mr. Donatello. Alright, the events in the cabin, boys. Let's handle this. I had a guest waiting for me when I returned to my cabin after finishing my evening meal in the dining room, which tasted very good, by the way. What did you have? Because the so-called guard posted at your cabin door had just let your killer pass, you mean? Apparently, Gregson told the crewman he was a police inspector, which was the truth, of course. He wouldn't have had his identification with him, though. Yeah, it figures the one time he doesn't send Daily Vigil out is the one time he ends up getting killed. He had his trench coat and mustache, not to mention the bag of chips. I imagine the crewman was convinced. But the man accompanying him would have had 2 swords slung around his waist. You mean me? Who else? What else could I have said? Yes, that's true. You would have hoped the sight of a few swords might have set off alarm bells in the guard's head. Well, he probably stayed up top, you know, to keep an eye on things. The point is I left the cabin before its occupant returned, and I immediately disembarked the ship. Right, yeah. He was just getting off ships, getting on ships in Hong Kong, here, just everywhere, man. Certainly all I can tell you is that only the inspector was waiting for me when I arrived back in my cabin. And you entered without any inkling of suspicion. That's right, none whatsoever. I wasn't expecting it at all. When I walked through the door, a mustachioed Englishman was there foolishly waving a gun at me? Like, okay. Obviously, you're talking about Inspector Greggio. Yes, I'm talking about Inspector Greggio. Though at the time I didn't know the man's name. And there was no time for introductions. I value my life over manners. As you do. By which you mean that the inspector was there to assassinate you, I suppose. Like that would have worked. That was certainly the impression given by the gun pointing in my direction. But I've never seen the muzzle of a revolver shake about so much in all my life. Anyone would think the man had never shot somebody before. He must have gone to school and he was very nervous. Believe it or not, most of us haven't. Yeah, really. Anyway, there was no time to call for the help of the crewman at the door, so I dealt with the man myself. By throwing over my shoulder. Soon took care of him with an multi-throw, though we couldn't wait to read. Can we get a flashback of when he did that before? I want to see that again. Even though the man had a gun? That was a very brave move, wasn't it? Motherfucker, you ever played Street Fighter? My Ippon Soy is far faster than a bullet, I can assure you. But surely all that commotion caused the crewman to come in, didn't it? Yeah, of course. He burst in immediately without knocking. The inspector hurled himself at the stocky fellow and just managed to slip past him to make his escape. That seems unlikely. The outstanding guard does it again. Luckily, there aren't many situations I can't get out of using a quick throw. I'm just gonna stop even trying to say those words. They are beautiful, though. I imagine his watch was broken when I threw him over my shoulder. It's nothing to do with his murder. Okay, but like, the thing from the watch ended up in the case, in the trunk, so that's kind of weird. The crown snapped off and the glass covering the face of the watch was cracked. I could actually believe that. I mean, look how far we've come from just finding him in a room, you know? Jeez Louise, man. Preferable to the man's head being pulled off or his spine cracking, wouldn't you say? Not that the man was spared for long. A bullet to the chest soon saw to that. But the point is, the broken pocket watch doesn't prove that a murder took place. Absolutely not! All the watch proves is the power of my jujutsu throw! Whatever you say, it doesn't quite ring true that no shot was fired in that cabin. There was an obvious bullet hole in the wall! I made that with my finger! What are you talking about? He said it was like bugs or worms or something? That's what the star of your lowbrow detective stories told you, is it? Well, I don't care for such fiction. Haven't you worked it out yet, you little stripling? No murder took place in my cabin. Ugh. I cannot believe we're up to a half hour already. The inspector was clearly killed, having returned to Britain because his body was found in London. Okay, so... But there's no evidence that proves the victim ever returned to London alive. Just take a moment to think that idea of yours through now, stripling. When did you start calling me that? I mean, I'll take it as a compliment, because at least it means I don't have a pot-the-belly. A pot-the-belly. Like that girl says in Pulp Fiction, a pot-the-belly. Anyway, never mind. If the inspector was killed on the steamship in France, how on earth could he have got back to Britain? Somebody would have had to take his body, at least. Well, you look like just the person, my man. When people die, their bodies remain at that same spot. It's a devil of a thing. This is not some video game where you get to respawn somewhere else. Well, then obviously the culprit must have moved the body, yeah. Okay. How, exactly? By throwing him, perhaps? Carrying a corpse off a ship in your arms would raise it. Yeah, that's what I was worried about that, though. How would he have moved the body? Unless he went back for it in the middle of the night, but... All passenger luggage is inspected when it is unloaded from arriving vessels. And I would like to think the border police would query the corpse of an English gentleman as hand luggage. That would look pretty silly. Well, that's the thing. There was the trunk, but that was like back on the ship by the time... you know what, never mind. If the murder had taken place aboard the ship, you would imagine the body would have been disposed of at sea. Yeah, that too. Similarly to, like, if Phoenix died there, you would have thrown him over the bridge, or whatever. I was just watching some video about trials and tribulations, sorry about that. There would be no sense in risking being caught by attempting to transport the body back to Britain. Unless you wanted people to think that it was something else. I don't know. But perhaps not, because, like, they could trace it back to... They would know... Well, okay, here's the thing. eventually, either number one, the body would have been found, and people would say, oh, it must have been somebody on that ship, which would have narrowed it down. Or number two, what was number two? I forget what number two was. Miss Susuno? We've heard that the first-class passengers were under constant scrutiny by the crewmen posted to guard them, which would mean that the culprit had no opportunity to dispose of the body in the sea. Oh, that's true, too. Nice ones. Man, Susuno's been so useful, and god damn. So transporting the body to Britain may have been the only viable alternative. Dear me, you really are new to this, aren't you? Did they carry out refrigerated stuff in boxes? Because maybe... I thought I'd been perfectly clear, but don't start speculating about the refrigeration. Not now, son. It seems I'm going to have to explain it in words you can understand. I think I ought to alter my testimony. With your consent, of course, my lord. Go right ahead, you're doing a great job, brother. I have no objections. Take your amended testimony now. Man, his head, the top of his head is even flatter than Dahlia Hawthorne's, man, let me tell you. There's no possible way I could have transported the victim's corpse back to Britain. Okay. There's an idea. Think about it, stripling. That's 3 times now. 3 times! All passengers and crew disembarked at the same time and passed through the same checks at the border. The symposium guests were then driven straight to the hotel in carriages organized by the ministry. And we met you as soon as you arrived at the hotel. Yup, so you did. Well then, remind me, did I have a corpse over my shoulder at the time? No. So we're in agreement then. I couldn't possibly have brought the inspector's body back to Britain. Well, could you have, like, dropped it off? Before you came to the hotel? I don't know. Unless, of course, they develop some clever device these days to instantly move things from A to B. Funny you should say that. Professor Hairbrain's invention didn't actually work, if you remember, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, of course. The defense has become unusually quiet, I notice. You must be thinking, you better stop that. Yes, because there's really nothing more to say or to think at this point. I'm innocent. I really don't want him to be guilty, but dadgum, dude. Well, I suppose if you think about it, whenever you drop a teacup in the office and it breaks, you can't use recall on it. We don't say Mr. Naruhodo must have been murdered there, do we? And the fact is that Inspector Gregson's body was found in the little room on Fresno Street. If he really was killed in Judge Jigoku's cabin, the body would have to have been moved somehow, obviously. Transporting a dead body over a country. I feel like we might have something for this. So there must have been some special circumstances that made it possible for the culprit. Well, I still think it might have been his luggage. I don't know. I mean, his thing. I was saying that earlier, but, like, that ended up back on the ship somehow when we investigated with Holmes and Mikitoba, so maybe... Oh, shoot. Okay, how weird would that be, though? Like, when we found him in the trunk, and he, like, looked up at us. What if Gregson's body had previously been in there? Like, how uncomfortable would that be for him to hide in the case where he had just hidden somebody else's body? See, I don't think we have the case in inventory. Do we have a picture? Oh, shoot, do we have... I was wondering when we were ever going to get to use that picture. Let me take a look here. Oh my god. There's not 4 people in this photograph, y'all. There's 5. There's 5! Let's look closer. There's the 5th body, right there.
Objection!
There's no possible way you could have moved Inspector Gregson's body, you say. I would say the opposite is true, and we know that because he fit in there. Well, what's that supposed to mean? Far from being impossible for you to do. The transporting of Inspector Gregson's body back to Britain is something only you could do. What are you talking about, Rinosuke? Stop this now! As well as being a judge, Mr. Jigoku is also Japan's Minister of Foreign Affairs. Which means he's exempt from having his luggage searched when he enters the country. Even better. Wish I could do that. We learned that when we first met you upon your arrival in London. Oh, did they really say that? Well, all those passport checks and luggage searches at the border took rather a lot of time. I must say I'm very envious of your ministerial status. You didn't have to go through any of that, did you? Oh, man. But I never would have suspected him, though, back then. Oh, but I still, though, I could see someone actually calling that, though. It wasn't me, though. I'll tell ya. I presume you recall this, Judge Jigoku. Look at that. Man, I was wondering what was going on with this picture, why this was here. As the court will note, you have with you your large travel trunk. Large enough, in fact, to have a corpse inside. Mr. Naruhodo, surely you're not suggesting... I'm afraid I am, yes. 3 days ago, when we were chatting innocently with the new arrivals from Japan in the hotel. You know, in the hotel! The body of Inspector Gregson was just meters away from us, inside Jigoku's trunk. Oh, man. Oh. Order! Order! Knock it off! I'm skeptical, counsel, that a grown man's body could fit inside even the largest travel trunk. It could. Because I happen to know that the witness himself, a man of considerable size, fits inside his trunk. Oh my god. And verifying that would be extremely simple, wouldn't it, Judge Jigoku? JJ? Can I start calling you JJ? It's put inside his trunk? How horrifying! And after we'd spoken with you at the Great Waterloo Hotel, you had plenty of opportunity to visit the apparent scene on Fresno Street, taking your trunk with you in a cab to deposit the inspector's body. I don't have to listen to this nonsense! I'm trying to be nice here! I'm trying to be cheerful! Dr. Corey, the coroner who examined the body, has confirmed the possibility. She's acknowledged there are signs that steps may have been taken to disguise the true time of death. The onset of the body's decomposition could have been delayed by storing it in a refrigerator. Counsel, as I remember explaining yesterday, refrigerators of the requisite size are few and far between. Oh, but no. Yes, I'm sure they are. But one place they're certainly found is on large ocean liners. Oh, shit. Such ships are equipped with electrically refrigerated cold rooms to keep food fresh on their long sea voyages. They're not just having fishermen fish off the sides of the boat, I'll tell you. Professor Mikotoba told me about it only yesterday. Well, JJ, you got to say for yourself, JJ Abrams. Can we get a Lost reboot, please? However much you prolong this debate, you can't eliminate the truth. The one and only. Oh, man. I really don't want to believe this. Well, this is all very hardening. Feels like I just had a bowl of Campbell's soup. I can see that it was a wise move, letting Asogi and you embark on this study tour. What are you talking about now? Logical reasoning, of course. All court proceedings will be built on logical reasoning in the new century. Well, I sure hope so. And I can see that you've both laid firm foundations for that already. Good job, guys! JJ, please, stop diverting attention from the issue at hand. The defense has made an accusation against you. How do you respond? Respond? There's really no need for me to respond, is there? Why ever not? Because you're wrong! Because before you can even begin to answer the question of when the victim was killed, you must first establish one key fact. Where was the victim killed? It's quite logical. Oh, he's right, though. The actual scene of the crime, the actual toilet. The prosecution stands as unaltered and unfaltered. The killing took place on Fresno Street when the gunshot was heard. As the accused, Brock Van Zeeks shot the victim at point-blank range. Who was Van Zeeks again? Oh yeah. Since no tangible evidence exists to disprove the prosecution's claim at this time, the defense's deductions amount to little more than a load of crap. I'm afraid that's how the logical reasoning the British are known for really works, young stripling. That's 4. The victim was shot in that little room on Fresno Street and died instantly. I'm afraid it's the prosecution's claim that's the only fairy tale. Oh my god! What? Quite simply, because that claim directly contradicts a certain piece of evidence in our possession. Wait a second. Very tantalizing, counsel. I think you'd better explain yourself to the court, don't you? Prosecution claims that Inspector Gregson died instantly when he was shot at the scene on Fresno Street. This evidence clear. Wait. What did you just say? The prosecution claims that Inspector Gregson died instantly, but we were just talking about that, weren't we? Wait, where is it? Where's the autopsy report? Can't estimate a time of death. I mean, I guess we haven't been back in court since we did that? That has to be it, right? The Japanese really are a curious breed. To proffer an argument with such conviction, only to present such nonsensical evidence. Perhaps my Japanese friend's inexplicable thinking is why people talk of the mystique of the East. In case you hadn't noticed, I'm not the only Japanese around here. Do you even have a mirror? The court is not interested in the mystique of anything. You will be penalized. Oh, shoot. Yeah, I was gonna say, though, like, we already kind of discussed that. Let me just look at this again. Measurement taken to disguise the time of death. Wait, what are we actually trying to prove here again? Wait, Inspector Gregson died instantly. Huh, okay. But... oh. Man, I would have thought the autopsy report would have done that, but... I don't know. What else do we have here, anyway? I mean, we have the photograph, but I don't know if that really... I mean, if anything, this definitely proves that he did die instantly, because if he hadn't died instantly, he would have at least taken the time to remove that ridiculous wig. Let me tell you. Alright, let me try it. Wait, how's... Take that! Take that. A photograph of the victim in the very location you claim he wasn't killed. Yes. But the point is the posture of the body itself. If Inspector Gregson had been shot there, in that room, it's out of the question that his body would have been curled up in a ball like that. Actually, that's a good point. And here I was talking about the wig. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but your logic is flawed. He could easily have adopted that fetal position, due to the pain of the shot, which subsequently proved fatal. Yeah, but if he died instantly, there would have been no pain, right? And hopefully that's the we all hope for that. Sorry to disappoint you, JJ, but it's your logic that is flawed. What? What? According to this autopsy what? I tried the autopsy report too. Okay. Maybe that was just leading to this, though. Yeah. He would have felt no pain, much less have been able to draw himself into that position. Oh, shoot. It's the first time we've seen him all worried like that, which begs the question of why the victim's body is curled up in that way. Though the answer should be, abundantly clear by now. You're suggesting... Oh, but yes I am. The inspector's body took on that posture ahead of its arrival on Fresno Street. Before it was coldly turned... Oh, yeah, because he was in the trunk. Yeah. Oh, I didn't even pick up on that, though, like, because JJ was in the same position when he was in the trunk. Yeah. JJ, present your trunk for examination, please. I believe it's very possible that it will contain traces of the victim's blood. Like, it should. But that's gross, though, because he was sleeping in there. Or just hanging out in there, unless it cleaned it out. Oh, he's mad. He is mad. He's doing the wraith face again. Present my trunk? I refuse! What? On what grounds? Because it's devastating to my case! Overruled. Good call! I'm the Minister of Foreign Affairs from the Empire of Japan. I shouldn't have to put up with this crap just because of some stripling's baseless accusations. That's 5. In other words, Judge Jigoku. There is blood in your trunk. Maybe it's even on you. I decline to answer that. As the Minister of Foreign Affairs, I have privileges that allow me to... Man, I would have been so happy if Strongheart had gone up against him, but he's not. And that's a little sus if you're telling me. Huh, at this moment, you're not a government minister. You're just a lowly witness. Yeah. I don't care who you are, or what your status outside this courtroom might be. You will not withhold information. Nothing is more important than the truth. You tell that asshole. I just called him an asshole, I'm sorry. I can't believe we're going this far with this guy. I can't believe something hasn't come up that has exonerated him by now. Because he needs to be. This can't be real. Order in court, Mr. JJ, what is it to be? Even I'm calling you JJ now. You can't be serious. You did it? Well... So what if I did? Have you no shame at all, Kazuma Asogi? What does this have to do with me? Well, let me tell you. Very well, I admit it. I did bring the inspector's body into the country. Inside my trunk, exactly as postulated by the defense. Okay, so, like, if he was innocent, like, he should have said that a lot sooner. But yeah, I don't know, man. So it was you. Oh god, the Wraith Face. No, I admit to nothing more than what I've said. Of killing the man, I certainly have no recollection. Of travel I've done my share, man, I've been everywhere. What on earth is that cryptic statement supposed to mean? I merely disposed of the inspector's body, which was left in my cabin, in order to avoid unwanted attention. As the judicial assistant over there pointed out, I had no chance to throw it into the ocean. So, I decided my only option was to bring it into Britain with me and dispose of it somewhere else. Oh, you can't still deny it. If you didn't do it, then who on earth did kill the man? As you know, there was one other person in my cabin that night. He had the job opportunity. He's gonna say Asogi. And moreover, he'd already accepted a mission to take the inspector's life, yep. Boy, that's right, who else could it have been? It was you, Kazuma Asogi. He is so mad. Oh, I hate seeing him like this. I don't want to give this up. One of the titles of this LP was I Love This Judge, in all caps. And now this. And now this. This is what they do to you. They get you all riled up, they get you all attached, you know, and then they turn around and pull the rug out from under your feet. I never thought you'd stoop to this, Seishiro Jigoku. SJ. You've taken the words straight out of my mouth, Prosecutor Kazuma Asogi. You thought by leaving the body in my cabin you could pin the crime on me, did you? Huh. Well, the prosecution counsel says already admitted to visiting the witness's cabin on the night in question. Yes, on an assassination mission, no less. You wouldn't. You wouldn't dare. Oh, yes, I would. So what do you make of that, young stripling? You've heard my testimony now, and that's all I have to say on the matter. I'll admit to nothing more. I don't believe this. Bang! Counsel for the defense. I don't know what to say to you anymore. What is your position now? The court awaits your response to the witness's assertion. The assertion that on the night in question, the victim's assailant was in fact Mr. Kazuma Asogi. This isn't the dead end it seems to be. The answer's right in front of me. It comes down to JJ, or Kazuma. Both of them had the opportunity to kill Gregson, but only one of them did it. And I'm just a step away from proving who. Very well, the defense is ready to respond to the assertion put forward by JJ. The idea that the victim's murder could have been committed by Prosecutor Asogi is... This is our cliffhanger. I can't believe I made it all the way to an hour. I said I wasn't going to go that long, but man, I tell you, sometimes things just happen. It's still, I can't believe I'm this late in and I still can't put all this together. Like, I feel like I should have figured this out by now, but man, I tell you. Oh. Well, next time on Great Ace Attorney, we will decide, is it possible or impossible that Asogi committed the murder? Right now, I'm kind of leaning towards possible, but I also get this vibe that the game wants me to say impossible. Because you have all this leverage and this momentum going right now against Jigoku, which makes me think maybe we should just keep it going by saying impossible. But at the same time, I'm not sure how we're supposed to prove that, if it comes to that. Or if they're gonna make me do it or what, but it's crazy, that's all I know. Anyway, I guess we'll make that decision at some point. So, see you guys later.